of the Nowgam Police Station following the high-intensity blast late last night show the massive scale of the explosion. The police station can be seen having been reduced to rubble. 360 kgs of seized ammonium nitrate is said to be behind the explosion. I'm joined by Colonel T.P. Tyagi, who's a defense expert on this broadcast, as well as Brigadier Rajan Jamwal. My first question to you, sir, Colonel C.P. Tyagi, is that, sir, we know that all of this leads back to, the Jaish-e-Mohammed posters being found in Srinagar to the Red Fort blast. From your perspective, I would just like to know what is the current threat level that India faces from terror groups, both domestic as well as from across the border.
Yes, sorry, it is more from domestic. As far as Pakistan and China is concerned, we have got no problem. We can take care of them. The army is quite competent, and the type of exercises which have been done of late, starting from Sar Creek to Longewala to Trishul, I mean, we are quite capable as far as the external threat is concerned. Right from the beginning, the major threat is the internal threat. And now what has been seen and what has been investigated and what has been checked, it all appears to be like the tip of an iceberg. This particular blast and the way the posters were found, and the person, what is his name, Adil Ahmed, Adil Mohammed, whosoever he may be. I mean, he was found that he displayed those posters. And what was written on the posters? That be ready to expect attacks on outsiders and the defense forces, security forces, including police as well as the army, which is there in Srinagar. So this appears to be an opening chapter. The entire thing appears to be a mystery wrapped in enigma. And what has happened in Nowgam Station, it is an eloquent testimony to the fact, kindly pardon me for saying so, that we have not come up to the expectation. Our intelligence agencies have not done what they ought to have done. The explosive, about 300 kg plus, why it was stored in a malkhana? Explosives are not stored like this. Why the inspection was carried out at about 11:30 p.m.? Why not during the day? And I have been given to understand that even forensic experts were involved in the inspection. Now they must know that explosive is a very dangerous thing. You remember in 1984, when the Sikh riots were taking place, there was a transistor bomb scare. And how it exploded, just you touch them or you move the knob and the transistor will explode. It means that an explosive which has been stored at a place, if it is touched or if it is handled or if it is shaken, it can explode. This happens. The anti-personnel mine work only on this effect. It has got only 1 ounce explosive, but the moment you step over it, it will explode. So explosives are to be handled with great care. And it was not only ammonium nitrate. If I'm right, it was ammonium nitrate, it was potash, it also had the timers, it also had the remote devices, wires, batteries, and very many other things. Now, these things can come in contact with each other. The forensic expert must have known it. And in spite of that, if a forensic expert or their officers were there, in spite of that, if it has exploded, now the conclusion you can draw it. But it's a very, very serious incident, and this is not the end of it. Now, this gives an indication that we have to carry out extensive research. Had we had done our homework before this situation would not have arisen to such an extent that Adil, who was working in a hospital, in his locker, a AK-47 was found. How can it happen? How can a man take a AK-47 and put it in the locker. All these things are beyond comprehension. It appears that we have not been very vigilant. We should have been, and now there should be an extensive search. Imagine about more than a dozen people have died, including officers, including jawans, including forensic people, naib tehsildar and others. And similarly, more than a dozen people have died in Delhi. And not only that, those who are injured, they are also, most of them will die, and the remaining will be disabled for the entire life. This way, the nation cannot expect it. The agencies which are supposed to look into it, they should be more vigilant, and they should be tasked, they should be asked, they should be questioned, they should be grilled how it has happened.
Sir, my apologies for interrupting you. I'm also being joined by my colleague Ajay Jandyal. Um, Now, Ajay, I would like to know from you, we're learning now that the police station where these explosives were has been reduced to a rubble.
So 9 people have lost their life, and more than 20 people they are injured, and not only the policemen but FSL team and the nearby people, those who were sleeping at that time. Right after that explosion took place, it was a horrible time because it has demolished all the police station. Number of vehicles in parked inside that caught fire. Even the neighboring house they also damaged because of this a huge explosion, which resulted into the injuries to some of the civilians as well. They have been shifted to the different hospital in Srinagar. But it seems that it was something like accidentally went off, and that resulted into the same. But the thing is that this is a new challenge for the authorities over here, and especially if you talk about Jammu and Kashmir. I haven't heard about these kind of such incidents like ammonium nitrate bomb is being used in the past. So that's why it could be new for the authorities as well. That's why when they were examining it, and no doubt that the timing of examining and other things that is something which they can explain that why they were doing it in the late night and why inside the police station, because already such precautions should have been taken, because after Delhi blast, one can imagine that how horrible it could be if it went off. So this is a kind of precaution they have to take, and yes, it is a challenge for the authorities as well, because if you see that detecting ammonium nitrate with the mechanism, some machines or gadgets, that is very tough. Earlier, what was happening in Jammu and Kashmir and other part of the country, that terrorists were using the explosive, which is easily detected, detectable. They were using metals, they are using RDX and other things in the past, and that was easily detectable. But if you talk about the ammonium nitrate, this is something which is not detectable that easily. No gadget, I believe that is present with the security forces by which they can detect it. How this technology is used to make a bomb, it is not, I think, that very friendly or that something very known to any of the security forces. So it is only the few. If somebody knows, then only few must be knowing it. And other thing is that when Faridabad, terror module was, exposed by the authorities, already they knew that some bombs were recovered, some detonators were recovered. So possibly, if they were planning, because this is already in the news that they were planning to carry out attacks in Delhi, in UP, on the Republic Day, on 6th December, and other they already have planned. So they might have basically readied it to use it at the time when they wanted to use it, and that's why even Umar, who was killed, suicide bomber who was killed in the Delhi blast, he was basically carrying that explosive in the car. So that shows that yes, there are several lapses which has happened, which resulted into the casualty as well. But at the same time, we also have to remember that this technology is not that very friendly to the people, security forces personnel over here in Jammu and Kashmir and other part of the country as well.
All right, Ajay, please do stay on with me. I'm also being joined by Brigadier Rajan Jamwal, who's a defense expert on this. So the police station, we know how now has, significantly now has been reduced to a rubble rather. Now, does this perhaps point towards a potential procedural lapse in handling these explosives?
Let me just tell you, ammonium nitrate by the United Nations classification of dangerous good is classified as an oxidizer 5.1. Secondly, there is the rule 2B of ammonium nitrate rules 2012 clearly states the means how it should be stored. I do not know whether those rules were followed, but there's a very clear rules defining the storage of ammonium nitrate. Third, it falls even under the provisions of Explosive Act 1884. This thing. To understand, ammonium nitrate in itself is not an explosive. That you must understand. It is not an explosive, but it is an ingredient for making an explosive. In its purest form, the melting point is 170 degrees centigrade. At 200 degrees centigrade, it turns into a instant gas that could cause an explosion. But somebody has to get it to reach 200 degrees centigrade. So there has to be a secondary explosion, which causes the main this thing to explode and the temperatures to rise to 200 degrees centigrade. It could either be stored next to inflammable materials, next to some things which a natural fire could occur, and that fire then further increases the temperature to that degree where ammonium nitrate in itself becomes. That is why when you apply for a license for ammonium nitrate distribution, incidentally, it is also a fertilizer. It's also a fertilizer. You can purchase it from the market, from a designated shops by showing you the land holdings. So it is, laid down per canal. You can take that much because it's also used as a fertilizer. But there are before the license for either distribution or even retail is granted, the government inspects the facility. That is the storage facility. Does it meet the specification? Does it meet the specification? I do not know right now. It's a matter of investigation whether police was following all these rules. And if such kind of explosive was to be stored, I do not think a police station would have the facility. They could have easily approach the nearest unit, which generally has a magazine, where all these separate compartments are there and places designated, which follow the charter that it is laid down by the United Nations, how to store explosive. So the charters are followed by every unit of the Indian Army, and we have a system of annual inspection where it is inspected by trained professionals whether the unit is following those United Nations norms and all. I'm not very sure if all that was happening in a police station. And the very storage of such a large quantity in such a police station, the logic, it is beyond me. I'm trying to speak to some people. Hopefully, one will get some idea within an hour or so. But as of now, I personally feel none of these rules probably were followed in the police station. You can call it overzealousness, a little bit lack of training, or lack of knowledge, you can call, because police people are not that familiar with the handling of explosives. But then, if that be so, expertise can always be brought in. You can always, Kashmir is full of security forces. It is full of security forces. All you have to do is ring up the nearest unit or any formation. They will send an explosive from the expert from the Ordnance Corps, who would come and inspect, guide you how to store it, how to keep it, what are the precautions to be taken. Everything he would have guided you. At this stage, I do not know all this was happening. It seems improbable. And even at this stage, you cannot rule out, even if these procedures are followed, it was probably an inside job or not, where somebody deliberately ignited a fire or a secondary explosion, which caused this mass explosion. Hopefully, I am wrong. But if that happened, it was probably with a view to obliterate all evidence, because all the evidence was which had been collected by the police was, I believe, stored nearby only in that police station. So it was to, that could be one this thing. But as of now, this is an hypothesis. As time progresses, central agencies come in, the investigation, the forensic, more forensic experts, views we get, we will come to know what was the truth out of that. At this stage, one can say one thing for certainly: it seems improbable that all these rules which I had quoted, any of them was being followed, which should have been. Actually, they should be displayed openly on block letters in all police stations, like is done in army units. Wherever you visit a magazine, all these rules, wherever the explosives are stored, all these rules are very, very prominently displayed, so that anybody, and in bilingually, not in one language, they are in English, Hindi, and the local language of the troops, all three languages. In fact, they are very prominently displayed, so that whosoever is handling it can go through it, read it. Then, even if he doesn't remember anything, can see it right in front of it and follow that. So it's a very sad incident. How it happened, it's all hypothesis. One of the few things I have given, but this certainly will come out in any inquiry that the storage thing was not proper. And what I have been telling earlier, you see, Kashmir is a different ball game. Kashmir is a different ball game. The infiltration into the civil society has been very, very great, and even into the government agencies has been very, very great. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is some inside hand, anything that comes out at this stage. Nothing can be ruled out. Nothing can be ruled